This is what Steven Seagal once was. Star of dramatic action crime films and at least one full-on balls-to-the-wall action classic, he did have appeal at some point. Sure, he was pretty much a construct of Hollywood that later dumped him, rather deservedly, but audiences did enjoy his work for a while. I even made a video on exactly what his appeal was that you can see here. Seagal now though?
It breaks my heart to see you like this.
Well, he's changed. Physically, but also the films he appears in and how he is seen as a person. No stranger to controversy these days. My question is there a cinematic future with Steven Seagal in it? And if there is, should there be?
Let's drink to the future.
As I was on the way to hitting 100,000 subscribers, something I have now done, I asked my viewers to vote on which recent Seagal effort I would watch as a sort of celebration, and they chose The Perfect Weapon. The idea was to make something a bit more tongue-in-cheek and fun. Something along the lines of this. Oh Christ, that editing.
Promise me you won't die.
Where have I heard this before?
I promise I will never die.
But let's be honest, that's not really me, and it's not something I'm particularly interested in. And then after watching The Perfect Weapon, and reading more about Seagal, which I hadn't really done since that other video came out, the idea of making something poking fun didn't seem right.
You've been very much caught up in all the allegations of sexual harassment. You had a rape allegation against you, and I wonder how you deal with all that.
I believe his victims, and that their allegations against him are true. He is tied very much into the American action film story, but as a filmmaker I asked myself, would I hire him? And that is where I want to go with this video. Now, I understand first of all why you would. He is an ex-action star, and it's the same reason I'm sure that Vernon Wells and Richard Tyson appear in The Perfect Weapon.
That's smart.
He draws a legacy crowd, and you'd get a kick out of him appearing in your film, especially if, like me, you grew up with his work. A while ago, I enjoyed developing a film that never came to fruition, sadly, with Passenger 57 actor Bruce Payne, who also then appeared in a short I directed.
BAM! Shot! Sharp attack on the senses. That one little hit. Changes you.
Working with Bruce was a joy, so I do understand the desire to hire someone like Seagal. One thing I want to make clear is, as I will be discussing briefly the previously mentioned allegations against Mr. Seagal, that this film came out in 2016. Though Seagal has had serious brushes with controversy and questions of his character, I do not believe, or at least do not know, if the filmmakers had any idea the assault and rape claims existed. I am using The Perfect Weapon simply to discuss whether it even needed Seagal to succeed as a film, and if future films should continue to use him. Now, I have seen a bit of Seagal's recent work, but not much of it. The last film of his I kind of enjoyed was Urban Justice, but that was pretty much mainly for Eddie Griffin's antagonist and the ridiculously bloody squibs. I wasn't expecting a great deal from The Perfect Weapon, and expected I'd much rather have watched the Jeff Speakman film with the same name from 1991, but sorry Jeff, not today. Afterward, whilst I can't say I particularly enjoyed The Perfect Weapon, I can say it wasn't what I expected. The action is ridiculously choppy at times, and the set design is often hilarious. Apparently adding these stock Asian boards to any otherwise plain looking room makes them futuristic. And in a world where Alexa is commonplace, this is the apparently futuristic version.
Hope you had a nice day.
It also has one of those scripts where the characters only speak seemingly to provide clunky exposition.
I've known you a long time, Condor. But I have to take you in. Is it a loyalty thing? I don't know. All I know is the director wants to see you because you didn't follow orders, and he wants to know why.
Or to say exactly what their character is supposed to be feeling.
Desire to have a family with you someday.
It's often quite amusing.
I think we just found our new symbol of hope.
But it does mean it's hard to get anywhere near to caring about these characters. That the lead is basically a cold Hitman clone doesn't really help. Okay, so that's some of the bad stuff out the way, but what struck me was the ambition here. Don't get me wrong, it's not a great film, but they are trying to make something that feels more than the sum of its parts. For every bit of poorly edited action, there is a great kill and some surprisingly strong blood work across the board. For every poorly delivered line, there is a real attempt by the creators and actors to instill a sense of drama and emotion to proceedings. Even just the choice to set this in the future and put some real effort into the city skylines, for example, is admirable, especially for a modern Seagal feature film. They aimed high, and whilst restricted by a very lackluster script and clearly low budget, they do their best. Which brings me to Seagal's part in the film.
I'm finished. Man, you've done well, Condor.
It feels like he is here for marketing, and to bring perhaps a certain validity to it all. After all, as much as I got a kick out of seeing Wells and Tyson, Seagal is of course the most famous name, or perhaps now, infamous. I have said in the past Seagal would make more sense these days as a shadowy villain, rather than a hero, and they do portray him as such here. Seeing it in action though, it for me at least, still really brought the film down. He's not in it much, but when he is, it's either hugely disappointing or... It's no secret that Seagal has, over time, let himself go. He prefers roles where he stays seated for much at a time.
When I raise your hand, you go up. When I raise you down, you go down. When I lift you up, you go up.
Relies heavily on doubles and, hilariously here, CG to try and appear more athletic than he really is. One thing that hasn't changed is his desire to have a much younger woman act as his floozy, for lack of a better term, in almost every film he is in. At least here they do try and make it have some sense within the plot.
She fell in love, a classic Stockholm syndrome.
But it doesn't mean that one can ignore how weird it feels post the allegations of sexual assault that have surrounded him recently. What is the future for Steven Seagal? That is for action filmmakers to decide. Do you want to work this hard to accommodate someone mired in such controversy who will put the minimal effort possible into your film? I mean, I'm pretty sure he wasn't even in the same room as Mike Tyson when they shot this scene. Do I enjoy saying this? No. But as I guess something of an influencer who made a rather popular video on the appeal of Steven Seagal, perhaps I should say what I feel. In the end, I care little about Seagal anymore, but I do about filmmakers out there wanting to bring a spotlight to their action films. Working with a figure like this is attractive, trust me, I know. But you don't need to, and like the filmmakers of The Perfect Weapon who soon after releasing their film will have seen very serious allegations mount quickly against their star, you may regret ever doing it. Who am I to tell people what to do? Nobody really, but this is my opinion as an action fan. Seagal just doesn't interest me anymore, not even as a figure of fun. It doesn't attract me to see your movie, and I believe that is the same for so many that used to enjoy his work.
Mission complete, sir.
Thank you for listening, and I promise the next video will be a bit more fun and a lot less serious. Please remember to like and subscribe, check out my Patreon, and see you again soon.